Okay, welcome to Class 15 of Introduction to Dreamweaver for Fall 2012. Today we are going to talk a little about site reports, browser compatibility checks, and the CSS Advisor. These are things that we've touched on before. So instead, I'm going to focus primarily on what is probably of greatest interest to you, which is the final project. So I spent quite a lot of time on putting a video together for you and updating the instructions file and the grading rubric so it really reflects what we're all about this semester. So the first thing I'm going to do is walk you through the steps. Today is December 5th. The 19th is the due date for our final project. So you've got 2 full weeks to focus on this project. You will be able to reuse at least a lot of the code that you've used on certain pages. For example, I'll mention those as we go through. But let's just start, shall we? Looking at the instructions. So I click on the instructions file, and it says you're going to create a 4-page website based on an area of interest. Suggestions can be an electronic portfolio of your graphics and web design work, a gallery of photos, a fictitious storefront with catalog items. Uh-oh, you lost me. What'd you lose? Testing, 1, 2. Can you hear me? Hello? Is everybody there? Okay, so I'm seeing oopses and now I'm back. Well, that was weird. I didn't go anywhere. Okay, well, it's always something. Froze for a moment. Okay, so we're going to create a 4-page website based on an area of interest. This, by the way, is our final project. I do sound like Alvin and the Chipmunks. He was my favorite character growing up, him and Top Cat, who lived inside of a garbage can with a TV antenna on top of it. So when I sound like Alvin and the Chipmunks or Mickey Mouse, I'll slow down a little. There's really little I can do about that. That has much more to do with the interface and how it is compressing and feeding the data. So I'll just slow down a little bit. So back to our primary focus, Dreamweaver final project. And we are going to create a 4-page website based on an area of interest. And the first thing you'll want to do is review the grading rubric. Now, I'm going to come back to the grading rubric because it's quite extensive. But that's the first thing that you would be doing. After reviewing the grading rubric, you would create a storyboard for your own use. And this storyboard is useful for you, even though you're not turning it into me. It will save you time in the long run. Just sketching out on a piece of paper what you're going to have on each of your pages and how they're going to connect with each other really is going to save you some time. Once you do that, you're going to create a new document. You're going to select File, New, Blank Page, HTML, Layout, and choose an HTML5 layout, either 3-column or 2-column. Both of these are fixed with headers and footers. Your CSS file is going to be an external file, and that really is the only option that you have when it comes to setting up an HTML 2-column or 3-column fixed header and footer. Even if you had another option, we're not going to use it. No, this is not a fluid grid. And just to to share with you. I spent a lot of time thinking and examining if we could do the fluid grid with having 1 week of mobile layout experience under our belts. And it just seemed like I was going to be sending some people over the edge. I was going to have to be visiting people in hospital rooms recovering from stress, anxiety disorders, and it just didn't seem, you know, I just, there's just not enough hospitals to keep all the people who would have been freaking out when they looked at the scope of things for the final project. So the fluid grid is going to be something that you'll get more exposure to in the Dreamweaver B class. And in addition to that, there is the class that's going to be offered, Little White Jackets. There's going to be, yes, the Dreamweaver B class is next semester, and I will touch on that a little later this morning. Also, there is going to be a new class next semester, and I'm sorry, a new class in the fall, and it's going to be called Mobile Media Fundamentals. It's going to be a full semester class where you're going to learn everything about creating mobile websites and responsive design websites. It's really the entire focus of a full semester class. So yeah, that's going to be an exciting class. I'm going to be teaching that, and I'm just shepherding the class through the curriculum committee right now. Pardon me while I slurp. So we're going to create that new document, and then you're going to add your common elements, such as your logo, banner, and navigation links, to the header, the sidebar, and the footer divs. You're going to create your color scheme. Do not use the default colors that come with the layout you choose. They're a little yucky. I definitely will send emails out about it. So you're going to go to sites that are within the same niche as the one you are creating, and or use the Adobe Cooler website to create your color. If you've already watched my video, though, you'll know that I end up using Color Schemer, and I will just launch my browser. And there is a couple of reasons why I did that. One of them, Color Scheme Designer. I'm going to put that in the chat window. One of the reasons I ended up using Color Scheme Designer, how come I'm not, what's the story here? Copy. Okay, go to the chat window. Why can't I type in the chat window here? Huh, that is bizarre. Why is that? I have no access to the chat window. Okay, well, you see the email, you see the URL right up there. It's colorschemedesigner.com. Okay, and the reason that I ended up using that is, as I show you in the video, the fact that you can export the HTML of your scheme just makes it so much easier to work with within Dreamweaver than the Cooler. There is very poor integration between Dreamweaver and Adobe Cooler, and I do recall somebody sending me an email earlier this week about how Cooler works well with Photoshop and with Illustrator and with InDesign, but it's true, it has very poor integration with Dreamweaver. So you're going to choose your color scheme. You're going to make sure to create a background image that extends the sidebar to the footer. You're going to make any desired changes to your external CSS. But the good news is that even if you don't get all of the changes that you want to your CSS before you turn your CSS, before you turn your HTML page into a template, which is, by the way, what is the ultimate goal here, is because of the fact that the CSS file is external, you can change it anytime you want. Because it's an external file, the template only locks in the HTML. It doesn't lock in the CSS. It locks in the path to the CSS, but it doesn't lock in the CSS itself. So once you get all of your desired setup to your index page, to your page that you're going to that you've created at this point, you're going to then select File, Save As, Template. This is automatically going to save the file in the Templates folder at the root of your site. Okay? Then you're going to use the tag selector, which is the bottom left-hand corner. So let's say I have a page open here. Let's open up the page. Okay, there's a page. And this is my tag selector down here. I've talked about it a million times. So I use my tag selector. Back to that document. You can use the tag selector at the bottom of the document window to select the first section of the article content. And then you're going to select Insert Template Editable Region and name it Main Content. Then you're going to select the second section of the article content and insert an optional region and choose not to show it by default. You're going to remove all the text in this section except for the headline, and you're going to insert a table. The number of columns is up to you, but that depends on the data that you're going to be using. But it must be 2 rows because you're going to be creating a repeat row region, and that's something that we've done in the past. So you're going to select that second row, making sure you have the TR tag selected, and choose Insert Template Repeating Region. And you know, all the steps are spelled out really, really in great detail here. Finally, just the bigger overview, the site has to contain the following elements. It has to contain a home page describing clearly and specifically the purpose of your site. It has to include a working contact form page which includes field sets and legends for each distinct section, and posts to a thank you page. And the form and thank you page is really just a throwaway page. You're just going to create it in 10 minutes or less. So the form and contact page really counts as one page. Then you're going to need a catalog page, which uses that optional region repeat region method. And this can be a catalog of images, of articles. You'll see mine in a few minutes. And then finally, a page with a SPRY element. So a home page, a form page, a catalog page, and a page with a SPRY element. Okay? You're going to need to use CSS transitions for the rollover states. You're going to need to use web fonts either from the google.com web font site or from the Edge font site. So these Edge fonts are Typekit, a larger selection for right now. I believe that's still offered for free by Adobe, but if not, then you use the Google ones. You need to use meta keywords and descriptions on all your pages, and I'll make sure to show you how to do that. Styling has to come from that external style sheet. And make sure that the background extends the sidebar to the footer. The final project will be evaluated based on meeting the criteria listed above and the standards set forth in that rubric that we will look for. No, you don't need the PHP file that sends the information from the form. You need to use the same code that we used for homework number 9, which are the hidden fields which are going to process the form through your student.santarosa.edu email account. Okay, so each item in that Web Design Best Practices rubric has a point total associated with it. Missing any of these requirements will cause a deduction of points. All expectations listed in the rubric, as well as including all the elements listed above, need to be fulfilled in order to get a perfect 108. The score is then divided by 7.2 to be equal to 15% of your final grade. You can choose to do an alternative HTML layout or a flexible grid layout, but it must meet the same criteria. And if you want to take that approach, you're kind of on your own, because otherwise I'd spend all my day helping people figure out what the problem was. Oh, Todd. Extra credit, extra credit. 1 point, okay? That's my final offer. Okay. Yeah, probably not, exactly. Okay, yes, that's my final offer, Todd. And if you keep on pushing it, it's 0.9 points. Okay, now it's 0.8. Okay, so those are the criteria. Now let's take a look at that web design rubric, because that is, I think, really useful for you, not only in terms of this final project, but really it's all about creating good websites. So we want to look at that rubric in that context here. Now I'm waiting for it to respond, and it's just kind of, there it goes. So it's loading and taking its sweet old time about it. Okay, so you see on the left-hand side, we have our evaluation scale, our criteria, our different categories. We've got page layout, browser compatibility, navigation, color and graphics, content presentation, and validity, and then a summary of all of it. So here's the form. The page layout, 4 points each for a total of 32 points within this category. Includes consistent site header and logo, consistent navigation area, informative title tags that reflect each page's primary content. So that means that if you have 4 pages, each page is going to have a different title tag. Your page footer has to include copyright, last update, and your contact email address. No horizontal scrolling. There should never be horizontal scrolling on a web page. Okay? Balance of text, graphics, and white space on a page. And that one, in terms of the page layout elements here, that's probably the only one that's subjective. Really, what I want you to avoid are sites that are just so cluttered that they scream too much information at you. There, this is one of my favorite examples of a site that is just like, get me out of here. Okay? So, this is, yeah, make it go away. So this is an example of a site that just overwhelms you with stuff. So make sure that instead, your site has a nice balance of text, graphics, and white space. Repetitive information, that's the header, the logo, and the navigation, take up no more than 25% of the browser window. So that's, you know, you want to make sure that your unique content on each page is the primary focus of each page. Certainly your navigation, your interface, it has to be present. But those elements, really, if you think about software and you think about operating systems, how you navigate a site really should just be intuitive and should almost disappear and just be so easy for people to deal with, right? The total weight of an individual page is 125 kilobytes, but that excludes your external scripts and your CSS. So your images can be, you know, most of that 125K. If you're setting up a gallery, your thumbnails are going to be, usually thumbnails are about 10K or less. Okay? And your full-size images are usually 50K or less. Okay? So those are the criteria for the page layout, and that's 32 points out of 108. It's about 29% of the overall grade. Browser compatibility. These are 2 points each, and it has to display properly on Internet Explorer. Yes, Internet Explorer. The nice thing is that because of the fact that you're going to be using an HTML5 default layout, all of the compatibility issues have been, or at least most of the compatibility issues have been designed into that page that comes with Dreamweaver when it comes to Internet Explorer, so you don't have to worry too much about that. In terms of displaying properly on Mozilla Firefox 15 through 17, those are the latest 3 versions. Chrome 20 through 23 and Safari 4 and 5. That's usually pretty straightforward. The only thing that you want to pay attention to here is when you're doing any CSS3 things like border radiuses, you have to make sure to include the browser specific line of code. So for example, border radius is border dash radius. But if you want it to work on Firefox, it has to be dash Moz dash border radius, right? These are things that I know you know about. Moving on, we have navigation. Navigation links are clearly and consistently labeled, easy to use and easy to find your content. 3-click rule. So, and especially in a 4-page website, I should never need more than 3 clicks to get someplace. All of the hyperlinks need to work. The CSS transition effects are used in the hover state of the hyperlinks in the nav bar. So that's pretty specific there. And then if standard link colors are not used, all links use a consistent set of colors to indicate the visited and non-visited status. So one of the things that I've seen people do is if they're not using standard blue underline for links, then what they do is the visited state sometimes will be slightly grayed out and underlined. Some people even put a strike through on that. I'm not a big fan of the strike through. But you definitely want to make sure that your visited and non-visited links are distinct from each other. And get ideas from going to other sites and looking at them. The color and graphics category. Use of colors in the site is consistent and limited to a maximum of 5. This is not the circus, okay? And this is not the 60s. So if you want to have a tie-dye background image, that's fine. But 5 maximum colors. Backgrounds strongly contrast with associated text. I use the word strongly there. One of the few issues that I've had with this nearly perfect Dreamweaver class this semester is several people have used some text colors on top of backgrounds that are closely related. And sometimes I'll see deep pink on top of light pink. OMG. I've got a house full of girls and I can handle that, but still. Okay? Okay. All graphics are optimized for 72 pixels per inch. Image tags use the Alt attribute to configure alternative text display, right? If the user agent does not support images, but also for screen readers, you really need that, and that speaks to the importance of accessibility. The content presentation. Serif web fonts are used for H1 and H2 tags, and sans serif for normal text. So I'm being very prescriptive here, and some people might say, hey, that's not my thing. I don't like doing it that way. For this one time, you will, and the idea is that you really get used to the approach of what's the word I'm looking of leveraging the nice features of serif fonts. Serif fonts, for the most part, they're prettier. They have the serifs, they're decoration. But the idea is that serif fonts cannot be used on smaller text. So the reason that I'm being prescriptive here is I want you to get into the idea that you can use serif. Yeah, thank you. That you can use serif and sans serif, but the serif for large fonts and sans serif for normal text and smaller fonts, because you can't see serifs when it's on smaller text, and it makes it actually harder. It decreases the readability. So seeing a nice division between use of serif and sans serif, I think, is a good skill to incorporate into your knowledge of web design. Techniques for writing web are used. And this really is important. You know, I've been teaching for a long time, and I'm not going to wax too philosophical here, but I spend more time cutting content than writing content. When it comes to the world that we live in today, people have short attention spans. There's so many things asking for people's attention that even if it's not for the web, short sentences, short paragraphs are really what can be absorbed, because the goal is to get people to understand the information that you want, not to use a lot of words. So you want to be as much like Hemingway here as possible without the alcohol. Okay, content presentation 3, semantic HTML. Content importance matches H tags and meta tag keywords and description values. And this is something that, you know, I really haven't spent a lot of time talking to you about during the semester, but it is, again, very important in terms of how search engines pick up your content and in terms of how HTML is supposed to be presented. Think of it like a newspaper. The headline of your article or your page is supposed to be in H1 text, and then the next thing below that should be H2, like the subheadline, you know, and then the body would be in normal text, and then if you have sub regions within an article, that might be H3. So it's supposed to step down like that. And I know that over the years I have thought, well, God, I don't like the way that H1 text looks because it's always bold. Well, gee, go into your CSS style sheet and unbold the H1. Change the size of the H1 and make it specific to a specific region. You can make it contextual. You can control all of that with your style sheet. So really, at the end of the day, you want to make sure that if somebody is looking at your site, if they turn off the style sheet, it makes sense semantically just with the HTML. And again, we see all styling is accomplished by linking to the external style sheets. Content does not include outdated or inaccurate material. Content is free of typographical and grammatical errors. So for those people who don't spell well, hey, Einstein didn't spell well, but he didn't have a spell checker, and you do. So you can take your content and you can plop it into any program that checks your spelling, including Dreamweaver, and you can run your spell check. Validity. All pages include links to the W3C. That should not have the CSS in there. You don't have to validate it for the CSS. I'll fix that. So all pages should include links to the W3C and HTML validation service. If you want to have CSS in there as well, that's fine. And no, there's no extra credit for it. And all pages validate to HTML5. HTML5 is actually easier to validate than to XHTML 1.0. So there's the summary. The page layout, the browser compatibility, the navigation, the color, the graphics, the content presentation, and validity, all equal to 108 points divided by 7.2, and you get a final maximum score of 15. I have the intention, and you know, with having many students, it's always a little challenging for me to get this, but I have the intention of sending each person an individual tally of comments, the 3 best site features and areas for improvement. I'll do my best to get that, but at the very least, of course, you'll see your score on your grades page. Okay, so there's a lot of information there, and you might have questions as we go along. Let me ask if there's any questions now before I start demonstrating some of these things. Okay, so I'm now going to demo the final project. And just before I do that, I'm going to have to do one thing for you guys just because you're a nice group of people. So I want you to see how it is that I work here. Let's see. So there's my first screen. Oh, there it is. Screen 1. Yeah. Up. There's screen 2. And there is screen 3. I have my 3 screens set up here. Yes. A true geek gets great pleasure out of these things. Okay. Now I can shut that off. Shut the video. Okay. So now here we are. I go into Dreamweaver. I'm inside of my Intro to Dreamweaver folder. Inside of my Intro to Dreamweaver folder, I've got all my homework pages. I've got my midterm subfolder. I've got my images folder. I've got my CSS folder. I'll make sure to get to that right. I've got my final folder, right? These are folders that we set up while we were working the semester. So that setup is pretty much what you should have. I'm ready for my final project. I select File, New, Blank Page, HTML. And I'm going to use, for example purposes, HTML5, 2-column fixed right sidebar header and footer, layout CSS, create a new file. I click on Create. I'll save that new file into my CSS folder, and I'm going to call it Default 3 because, hey, you know, I do a lot of practice. I've done Default 1 and 2 already. So there is my there's my opening page, right? And that means I've completed step 3, which is creating my new document. I have my common elements, so I'll take that logo out. I'll go to my image. I can find whatever logo I want to use. Let's see, is that one that I like? I just can drag it there. And we'll call that logo. Oh, that's not the really one I wanted, but yeah, it doesn't really matter for right now. But might as well do it right. So let me get that one out. And I think it's this one here. Okay, there's a logo. I like that logo. And I might resize that down at some point, but for right now, that's what I'm going to use. It's more than the 25% of the space, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to duplicate this. I don't want to screw up the work that I've already done in here. And I'm going to call this responsive temp. Okay, and I'm going to point to responsive temp. Okay, now I'm going to save this page before I go on, just because it's starting to get saying, hey, you're not saving, you need to save. So I'm going to call this index 2. Yours is going to, of course, be index. Mine's index 2 because I've already done this. Now I'm going to resize my logo because it's using up too much space. I'm going to hold the Shift key while I resize so it scales properly. There we go. And now I'm going to click on this little checkbox down here, and that's going to commit the image size, and it's going to change this image. Okay, so now that image is actually that size. Okay, and then I've got my links to my, I've got my banner in there, and I know that since I've created a storyboard for myself, I know that I'm going to have a contact page. I'm going to have some other pages that are related to the content that I've created. So I'm going to name those pages accordingly. This one, of course, is going to be linked back to home. This one's going to be what is RWD, standing for Responsive Web Design. How do I do it? Oh, that one I did something weird to. Let's try that again. How do I do it? Okay. Resources, or resources there. And I'll hit the Enter Return key, and I'll type in contact. And I'll select that. And since I already know what page that's going to link to, I'll drag and link to it. These others, they don't have links yet, and even if I haven't created the page, they're already linked by virtue of the fact that they were set up as part of this template. If you refresh the files, does it update the size of the image? Oh, that's a good question. Let's see. Images. Where is responsive temp? Where did it go? Images. Did it go over there? Okay, well, it doesn't really matter. But yeah, there's my size. It's 110 versus 195. Okay. So now I might think to myself, well, geez, that's in a different folder, which it's not a problem since it's in the same site. But if I wanted to be really finicky about these things and stay organized, I could simply drag that responsive temp to the images folder of my final folder, and it's going to update the pathway. And I click on Update. So there's my responsive temp in my, I think they put it there just now. Did I drag it someplace else? There it is. Yeah, okay. So we've got our header, we've got we're working on those links, and again, you can create the links after you create the pages, or if you know what the page is going to be named, you can type it in. And because of the fact that they're going to be at the same root, the pathway should just be to the file name. And then I've got all of my pathways set up, a whole variety of ways to create your links, right? I've shown you 2 or 3 already here. And there we have all of our pathways. Home, what is RWD, standing for Responsive Web Design, resources, and contact. Okay, so I've got my sidebar content set up. I'm going to go to my footer, and you'll see something in here. I'm going to just change this text here. Okay, and I'll go insert. Well, actually, in common now, you see this drop down for inserting characters. So I can insert right from there and then say 2012. You'll notice that the address content down here is already inside of an HTML5 tag called address. So that makes it a little bit more contextually correct. Okay, so I've got all of that content in there. I've got my common elements in there. At this point, I would create my color scheme, and because of the fact that I've already set that up, I'm going to go into my links panel over here, and I'm going to get rid of this style sheet, and I'm going to attach a style sheet that I've already created. But here is an example of what a page looks like without any styling. And talk about HTML semantic adherence. This instructions is heading 1. How to use this document is heading 2. The clearing method, in this case, all of these sub areas are also heading 2s. So using that semantically correct approach is good. And of course, we also see that our nav is set up as a list. But since I've already done my styling in preparation for the class, I'm just going to attach a style sheet that I've got. And I'll use this one, and I'll click on OK, and boom, there's my styling. I did a lot of styling for this. So we see I've got my style sheet all connected. I've got my color scheme done. And background image. Now, I did a little bit of a different approach with this. I do have 2 columns, and I can easily have a background image that continues to extend down. But so for the purposes of what we're doing right now, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create a background image for you so you see the steps that at this point should be pretty clear for you. So I'm going to choose my sidebar. I'll go to my current scheme, and I see that my background color is actually pretty much that color. And what I would do is just look at the measurements of my sidebar and I'm not seeing any measurement right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to edit the rule for that, and I'm going to set, because I changed mine. Yours is going to have, oh yeah, it does have a setting of 160. Why am I not seeing? Oh yeah, there it is, width 160. But then I have to include any padding left or right. In this case, I don't have any padding left or right, so it's 160. And what I would do is I would take that background color, and you notice that I'm using RGB, so I can simply either write that down or copy it. And then I would go into Photoshop and create a new image. 160 pixels wide. Height of 20. And some people choose a much smaller height, but then it has to repeat more times than actually the code has to write that. So it actually slows the browser down just a little bit. So there's my space. I'm going to click right here, and where it comes to the colors, I'm going to paste in my values. In this case, it's 238. by 249. I don't know why it's not doing that right. By 250. Okay, 238, 249, 250. I click on OK. And you see that it's a very light color. Let's just check it, 238, 249, 250, right? And then I select my paint bucket. I pour that in. I select File, Save for Web. I can save it as a PNG or a JPEG. It's got a color, so it makes more sense to save it as a JPEG or a GIF even. I mean, GIF really makes more sense than anything since it's one color. I click on Save. I save it into my website, into my final folder, into my images, and call it, I'll call it Sidebar. And then I exit out of Photoshop. Now when I go back to Dreamweaver, do I put the, do I change the CSS for the sidebar? Container, that's right. So I select here, there's sidebar, which is inside of container. And then in container, oh, why did you pop up? Go away. And then in container, I click on Edit the Rule. I select background. I choose background image. Oopsie, wrong folder. I choose sidebar. And then I repeat that along the y-axis, starting right top, and click on OK. And there's my color. Right? Now in this case, in terms of my project, I don't want that color to be there. But that's how you set it up. Okay? So keep that in mind. As long as you, if you say, well, I don't want sidebar color there either, you can just send me a note that you know how to do it, or put in your notes. By the way, if you wanted to create a sidebar, you would put it here. Okay? You can do that as well. Okay, so I've done through steps 6 and actually step 7. I've made all of the adjustments to my site that I wanted to make, and now I select File, Save as Template. Oopsie, not File, Save as. File, Save as Template. And I'm going to call this Final Project _2. And I click on Save. It goes into the container and not the sidebar, because this way, whichever column is longer, the background image will continue. Because if you put it in the sidebar, it really serves no purpose. As soon as the content of the sidebar ends, then the background image would end. The idea is that you're having 2 columns, and you want either column to, you want the columns to continue even if the content column has more content than the sidebar column. Okay? So we've just saved this file as a template. It says Final Project _2.dwt. And then I use the tag selector to go through the process of selecting my first section. So here's my first section up here. I choose Section, and I choose Insert, Template, Editable Region, and call it Main Content. Okay? So now that's editable. I go down to the second section. I choose Section again, and I say Insert Template, Optional Region. And we're going to call this Optional region is fine. It can just be optional region. And I'm going to choose not to show it by default. And the reason is because I'm only going to be using it on one page. Yeah, I'll talk a little about those. So I click on OK. Now that I've created that optional region, I'm going to remove all the text in the section except the headline. And I'm going to do something a little different than what I did in my, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to just leave it just like this for right now. And now I'm going to remove all the text I did and then create a table. So I'll insert table, and it's got to be two rows and 5 columns is fine. These values, table width, border thickness, cell padding, and cell spacing, are not supposed to come from the table. So I'm going to clear them out. And I'm going to click on OK. Now, you see that there's already styling because I've created my rules for my table. But my rules for my table, as yours should be coming from, they're coming from a style sheet. Okay? And the one thing that you'll notice here is, well, okay, we're not seeing anything in the table, so let me just insert a little data in here. Okay, let's go to live view. What? Oh, because it's not showing by default. Right. Okay. Well, anyway, so let me just modify this so we can see that. Here, I'll tell you what. I'll get back to this in a minute, but just keep in mind that the table styling has to come from the style sheet. Okay. So we've created the optional region, and we've created 2 rows. Now we're going to select the second row and choose the TR tag. And I'm going to insert template repeating region. So we can make that row repeat. And we'll call it repeat rows. Okay, and then what we're going to do is select a cell within that row and then choose the TR tag again. It's before this tag here that says template repeat. So we're going from right to left. We're choosing the table data cell, but then the entire row. And we want to make that row editable. Because creating a repeat row doesn't make it an editable row, it just makes it a repeat row. Since we're going to want to edit the content in each of the rows, we want that row to be editable. So you have to select table data and then select table row. How was I selecting the table under the sidebar? Well, this is a problem with Dreamweaver. Basically, this is just the view that we're seeing in design view. This is not live view. Okay, so if I had to, I'd go into code view and mess around with it in there. So back to completing the editability here. I select the TR, I select insert, template, editable region, and I'll call it edit rows. Okay, so now I've completed through step 14 of my assignment instructions, and I'm going to select File, Save, and I'm going to close my template. And now I'm going to select File, new blank page from template. And I'll choose my style sheet, and I'll click on Create. And there's my style sheet. And there's a couple things that I see already. I didn't remove those two other sections, which I was supposed to based on the instructions. So I'm going to go back to my template. There's my templates folder. I'll go to Final Project 2, and I'll see I've got a section down here. I'll select it, and I'll delete it. I've got another section here. I'll select it, and then delete it. I'll save my template. I'll close my template, and my page has been automatically updated. Okay? So then I come in and I add my page-specific content. Now the way I've just set this up is that I took all the content that I want to use and I put a text file together. Okay? And there's my first page content. So all I have to do is copy it, go back here, and paste it. And this is H1. And the rest of this is just text, right? And now I can go File, Save As, Index 2, and overwrite it. So now this page is built from this template. I also see what I needed to do is, and of course you don't always get it right at the beginning. I want to take all of this additional text out of my sidebar, right? I don't need that text in there. There we go. That's what my sidebar is supposed to look like. I save it. I update that index page. Now I go back to my index page, and there is my sidebar. I can preview this. And it looks like that. Now, I already see that I need to adjust one of the rules for my style sheet. I need to drop this menu down below. So I'm going to go over to my final project, select that template, select that sidebar, choose my rule, and change my margin to 50. Let me change it to 30 and save it. And then my index page, I hit the F12 key to upload it, and there's my first page. Now, a couple of things that you'll notice. Now, I did all kinds of styling to this, so that's kind of irrelevant. But what you will notice is that this line of text here, that's the address text. By default, it shows up as italicized. Okay, this is my footer information. This is my content information. This is my sidebar information, and this is my header information. Okay, so I've got all of those elements set up. Let me make sure that I'm moving along with what it is that we're supposed to do. So I've got that first page set up. Clearly, untitled document is not going to do. So I would go in here and I'd say okay. Now, I wanted to make sure to talk to you about the title tag, how that connects to the H1 tags for HTML semantically correct websites. So if my title tag says responsive web design and my H1 text says mobile first responsive web design, there's a strong connection between the title tag and my H1 text. Now clearly where it says final project, I want to get rid of this instructions area there, right? I save it, I update my index page, I go back to my index page, and there is my index page. I can go to live view. It looks like that. Now, you know, again, when it comes to the styling part, this is too crowded up here, so I would go back to my final project. I would select this article content area, and I would adjust the margin top and maybe make it 60. And I didn't see a change happening there, but I'm going to save it, and I'm going to go to Live View. And I should see something. Yeah, there's a little bit more space. I might even want more space, so I'll go 80. There, that's better. And now I'm going to go to my sidebar, because I'll go out of the Live View. I'll go to my sidebar, and I'll also change that to 80. And then I'll go back to my index page, and I should see, yeah. So now it's looking a little bit more kosher in terms of just my layout. But I want to get back to talking about the name of the title tag, how the heading text should connect with the name of the title tag, but also, more importantly, look at how your meta tags should work. So I'm going to go to Code View, and I'm going to click up in the title area here, and I'm going to hit the space bar, the return key, because I'm inside of this doc title area, and I can choose to let's see, where's my meta stuff? Oh, it's close. It's close. There's meta. So I'm going to choose meta keywords, and I'm going to choose words like responsive, web design, mobile, Dreamweaver, best practices. These are some of the words that I'm going to use as part of my keyword strategy, because these words are also showing up often inside of my website. So I want there to be a connection between the meta keywords and the words that I'm using. And then I'm going to insert more, instead of keywords, this time I'm going to insert meta description. And meta description are more phrases like web design as a phrase, comma, responsive approach to designing websites, comma, using Dreamweaver to create I can spell, I just can't type. Responsive websites, etc. Okay? When it comes to keywords, these are SEO tactics, and they're also, just as importantly, how you make your pages HTML semantically correct. And it turns out that search engine optimization includes making pages semantically correct according to the HTML standards. So you get rewarded for doing things right. So let's talk about description, meta keyword description. Maximum of 150 words, I believe, that you can use in meta description, and a maximum of 15 words that you can use when it comes to keywords. So this is what my meta name looks like, and my meta name keywords looks like, and my meta name description looks like inside of the HTML view of my HTML page. In other words, I can go into each of my pages, and within that editable region doc title, I hit the enter or return key, and I see my keywords and descriptions. Okay? So I've made sure that my page has a strong connection by using my meta keywords and descriptions. Okay? And basically, this is everything that I need to do to create most of the pages on my site. So I'll save this, and I'll just go through a little bit more with you. And I'm going to go File, New, and I'll say page from template, Final Project 2, click on Create. I'll go to my content page. I'll select the content for my second page, and I'll go here and I'll take this out and I'll paste this in, and I'll make sure that this is H1, that this is H2. Oopsie. And that's fine. This down here is, oh, okay, that's fine. Let's figure out why that is. So there's H2, and there, this is normal. No, paragraph not normal. There we go. And if I got a space in there, ooh, I see. I might want to go through changing my styling a little bit. So this is not showing up as H2. Come on. There we go. Okay. Now if I hit that, that's okay. So what I'm going to do is go into split view, and oh, there's a BR tag in there. That's what was causing my problem. Refresh. Much better. Mucho better. Okay. Now, here, I'm going to show you something that you could do here that, well, we're going to do it two ways here. To be semantically correct, I would take these and turn them into H3s. Why not? Yeah. No, this is paragraph. This is H3. There we go. This is H3. And this is H3. Okay, so this one looks like it became H6. There we go. So I've got H1, H2, and H3. Notice H1 and H2 are serif fonts. H3 is a sans serif font. Do templates work the same with fluid grid layouts? I really haven't used templates and fluid grid layouts together, so I can't speak to that. Missing a closing tag, did I take care of that, Todd? You said I was missing a closing tag. Is that fixed, or is that were you just? Oh, I got it. Okay, good. So we've got a page that's semantically correct. And this page is going to be saved as, this is how to, right? So I'm going to call this how to 2, because I've already created my how to page. So now I'm going to go into my code view, and I'm going to look at my, actually I'll go also to my index page, because I'm going to cut and paste a little bit of my meta, not all of it, but at least some of it I can reuse. So there's my meta stuff, my meta names. I go to, I Command C, Control C. I go into here and I paste that, and this is how to create a responsive website. And most of my keywords are probably going to be fine. Maybe I'll add to the keywords how to. Okay? And then my description might be a little different. How about strategies for creating and designing responsive websites. Okay, so you can see that your description is going to be a little bit different on every page. The keywords might shift around a little bit. You're able to reuse a lot of that meta content, but you want that to be on every one of your pages. So there's my H2 page. And by the way, inside of the Properties panel, when you have that meta tag selected, you actually can see the description. Okay, you'd only be able to get to that meta tag in split view, but it still, once you're into it, you can do all of that work in the design area inside of the Properties panel. So I've created my next page, and I can go File, New again, and create my third page, and then my content's already in my text file, which I'm going to pull from. I'll copy it, and I'll go to this area here, and I'll paste in my text that all is showing up as let's see, it's all showing up as heading 2 text. So I'll select it all, and I'll make it normal, and I'll just see how it played out. Resources, this one, responsive web design article, and then that's the author, that's the page, that's the next article, that's the next article, that's the next article, that's the next article, and that's the next article, and finally the last one. And now I can say resources. This is going to be H1. This article title is going to be H2. And then maybe the author can be H3, or I can just leave it the way it is. And then I'd go through that same process with all the rest of this content. I might have a summary of each one of them in here, right? So let me just use a little celestial babble here for 100 characters. Let's make our celestial babble a little more than 100. Let's make it 250. Okay, so I'm going to copy this and paste it down here. Okay, and just with these two set up, we see the resources, the name of the article, the name of the author, and then maybe the link. Of course, I would hyperlink that. Then I'd take this next one, and this would be an H2. This would be an H3. And you get the idea. So now I'd save this as my resources page. In this case, I have a resources page, so I'll save it as resources 2. And click on Save. So really, at this point, if I went into live view, we'd see I've got my home page, I've got my resources page, my what is page. I haven't created my how-to page yet, but that's all right. Or maybe I did, I forget already. And then I've got my resources page. Now, the resources, though, is the page. Actually, what I should have been doing there is I should have been doing my how do I do it page. Because the resources page is the one that's going to show up using the, what's it called, the columns. So we're going to close this. We're going to go leave that content text file open, close the rest of these, and I'm going to select File, New, and it's going to be Page from Template. I'm going to click on Create. And I'm seeing this content up at the top here, but what I want in this case is I want to see that repeat row region. So I'm going to go Modify Template Properties and choose to show the optional region on this page. and there's my optional region. Now, one thing I can see is it's using the word clearing method, and since I'm only going to be using this resources, why did that pop up on its own accord? That's so funny. I know that since I'm only using the resources as the optional region, I'm going to change this word here in my template to resources. And save the page, update all the rest of the pages. Only one page is going to be affected by the update, and that is this page. And notice it's column 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. They're locked also, so I have to determine what is it that I'm going to have in each of these columns. Now, I could have unlocked them, but since I'm planning on using this header just for this page, I don't really have to worry about that. So I'm going to make sure that this is a header row, and this column is going to be name, article, or title. This one is going to be author. This one is going to be, let's look at that text file. We've got name, author, link, and then I can put some images in there. Okay, so there's my final project. There it is. Link. This I'd have to go into split view here because there's my it's a little crazy there. Link, and we'll call this image. And in this case, maybe I only need 4 columns. So since I'm in my final project, I can go to my table, and I could say columns 4. Okay, now I got a 4 column. Now, all of these should be table headers. So this is why it's good to be in split view sometimes. Go back to design view. There is my final project template, and this is the 3rd time that happened. We're going to absolutely close that. Thank you. Get out of my way. Okay, so we've got title, author, link, and image. I save this page. I update the pages that this template is connected to, but the only page it's going to affect is this one, right? And I go to live view, and there I see my 4 column, but on the bottom it's a little broken. Somehow my table didn't fully update. So there's my table, rows 2, columns 4, but this row 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep, 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, but remember, this is this is a little funny situation here. Remember, the 2nd row is editable. So since my 2nd row is editable, in my new document, what I could do is go into split view, and I'll see, there's still 5 rows there because it's part of an editable row. So I can edit it manually like that, and there's my 4 rows. Okay? So there's my resources, there's my table, and there are some elements here that you see in terms of styling that these are the things that will, there's no really instructions for. You just have to know how it works. So for example, my sidebar here, the way I've set mine up is not the way that the default files are set up. I've floated mine. So that means that I'd have to have this table clear any floats, right? So because right now, the reason that it's colliding is because it's not clearing the floats, okay? But that's not an issue that you're going to run into unless you start really customizing your style sheets. And if you do, well, then you have to know how CSS works, right? So let me go back to live view here. There's my content. And I'm going to pull some I'm gonna set my screen up a little differently so I can have dual screens working and be able to have content in different places. So actually copy, I'm going to close this. I'm going to have this open as a separate file so I can click and drag stuff from one place to another. So I've got two, let me reset this. Sorry about that. Okay, there's my default classic setup. And you can see right here that my table is running into my sidebar because, as I said, my sidebar is floating. I could go to my final project article, let's see, file project, this section. I could style it in a way that it clears the float, but I'm not going to do that right now because that's really not my focus with you. What I want to do is I want to make sure that we get this sheet in particular all dialed in. So I've got my title, right? Let's get back to that. And let me have my information ready to pop in here. And I can copy my title down into here. I can copy the author down into here. My link over to here. And my image right over to here. So I'll insert an image, and that image might be something like this one, or is it this one? Yeah, this one here. Okay, I'll click on OK. Okay, now here's the trick. Once you've got your first column in and you want to have more columns, what do? Well, what you do is, I've been doing this to the template. That's okay. No, it isn't actually. Let me undo that. I should be doing this to the actual file. So there's my file, there's my design, and let me go through those steps one more time. Sorry about that. There's my title, there's my author, there's my link, I'm going to get that space out of there. There is my image going here, and OK. So now I'm going to go File, Save As, and I'm going to save this as Resources 2. And now I have lots of other resources, so all I have to do is click on Repeat Row. And now I can drag my other resources into those different rows, right? So I could start and put my next one in, and my next author, and my next link, and then my next image, right? So basically, when I've created a repeating region that I can use over and over again, let's see, is this my small one or is this my small one? That's my small one. A repeating region that repeats over and over again, I can put in different content as long as I make that row an editable row, right? So when all is said and done, I would end up with something that looked like this. Because I've repeated my rows many, many, many times. Then if I looked at it in live view, I'm seeing my resources page look like this. let me talk about the database queries in a minute. So you can see what it is that I've done is I've created a template. I can create I've used my CSS transitions over here in this sidebar. I have created my home page. This is my catalog page, so this is using that repeat region as part of an optional region. Remember, this template has the ability to turn those optional regions on and off by modify template properties, right? Okay. And I've created the home page, the catalog page, and in my case, my additional pages, which are a how-to page, a what is page, right? And all that is left here in terms of my requirements is I might need, on my resources page, I might pop in an accordion panel up over here. So I could choose Spry, and I could choose, where is accordion? Right here. And I would take this content and put it down over there. And take this, leave that there, and say this is first section of my resources, and this is my second section of my resources, and then I click right over here, and then I would insert my additional information right there. And then if I go into live view, there's my first, second section, right? So, you know, those, design-wise, I would not be doing this, certainly not that color scheme, but the idea is I just want you to see that we've got our home page, we've got our catalog page, we've got a page with Spry elements, we've got our CSS transitions that you're going to be doing with your style sheets. I've already gone to my web to get my web fonts, but just as a review how you do that, it's not that hard, but I'll show you real fast. I could either go to google.com or edgefonts.com. I'm going to choose Edge Fonts, and if it doesn't pop up, which it seems to be slow in doing, I would just type it in edgefonts.com. Once I get there, it says, okay, this is what the JavaScript is supposed to look like, but the JavaScript, as we know, is incomplete. We have to add a little something in here. So I'll go to the page that has the fonts that I want, because this is the link to examples, right? Maybe it gives you all the different examples of the different fonts that you can choose, right? But to get to, this is the 500 families to choose from. How do we get back to, here it is, Edge Web Fonts, right? So once I get there, I can choose whichever font I want. I can then, I wouldn't use that font, but that one I might use. I would select this text, I copy it, I go to my final project template, I go to the code view of my template, and right with the links to my style sheets, I would paste that style sheet, go inside of that tag, type the word type equal, and then choose text JavaScript. That's what makes this validate. So back to, and so that's really all. And now, of course, you'd have to go into your style sheet and choose your font family. In this case, I just created, where do we go? The source code. In this case, it's called League-Gothic. Okay, so if I went back to my style sheet, I'd say yes, my H1 and my H2 is going to be using League-Gothic, right? Comma, and then whichever one you choose, you want to make sure you use a generic font set at the end of it. And then later on, and up here where it says body, I also chose to use a different web font that I put into the source code of the HTML as well. So the two steps involved in using the web fonts is you go to your HTML where you call that page, you go to your style sheet where you invoke the fonts that you're going to be using. Does that make sense? Good. Okay, I'm going to take that out because I don't want to use that right now. Okay, I'll save that. And my and then now let me get back to this here. Okay, so we've done the home page, we've done the catalog page, we've done a page with spry elements, we've done the CSS transitions, we've done the web fonts, we've done our meta keywords, we've styled according to external style sheet, we've created the background image. A working contact form. Boy, oh boy, there's nothing easier than creating that working contact form. Here, I'll show you how I did it right before class. I would go File, New, Page from Template, click on Create. There's my page. I would go File, Save As. Let's see. I'm sure I meant File, Save As. And I'll call this Contact 2, since I've already got my contact. And in this case, I would go out to Homework 9. I would go into Code View, scroll down to where my form starts, scroll down to where my form ends, copy it, go back to Contact 2, go to Code View, stay within my section, contact form, paste that code, go to Design View, take out the things that I don't need. I'm not going to use useful links. I'm not going to be using sandwich information. But I am going to be using, I'm going to ask for your comments. We'd love your feedback. Okay. Then if I wanted to style it, I could spend my time setting up my styling. But is there a way to save web fonts to Dreamweaver yourself? Well, there is, and we went over that in Chapter 11, I believe it is. But that's different than using the Typekit font and the Google font that I'm asking you to do in this assignment. There are several downsides to web fonts. One is having to do with uploading the files individually, converting them to the various file formats. For this project, we're using the freely available sets that are much less labor-intensive than working with web fonts on your own. Okay, so at this point now I've created my contact form and it's in my code view, and then my thank you page, you know, again, you know how to do something like that. But my code already has the necessary information. The only thing I have to change here would be the pathway to my thank you page, because my pathway would probably be, in your case, in your guys' case, this would say something like this: intro _ Dreamweaver /final / thank you .html. Since we only need one thank you .html, let's do that. Okay, so that's what that would look like, and the rest of this is going to work. Of course, your address is going to be there, not mine. The rest of this is going to work. It's going to generate the form content because you've just cut and paste your form. So really, in terms of fulfilling the requirement for the form, a working contact form, that's all done. So within the last hour and a half, we've set up the entire website. Okay, start to finish. Now, I am going to show you the movie that I made. I was very proud of myself because it was just fun to do. It took a lot of time, but it was fun to do nonetheless. I'm going to take you over to the website and make sure that you see how this works. So here, if we go to Intro to Dreamweaver and we go to Assignments, we downloaded the instructions, we downloaded the grading rubrics. Reading these web design best practices is a good thing to read, you know. There's not going to be too many things in here that are going to shock or surprise you, but they're there for your perusal. Then it says, watch the final project tutorial. So this is what I want to show you now. You don't need to include a sitemap. Here's the final project tutorial. And you see it just starts like that, and then you click on this button here. Now, what I want to show you is if you roll over this, you click on full screen, roll over this and click on full screen. The quality is really high quality. This is a big movie in terms of file size. This is over 100 megs, but I wanted it to be really sharp for you so you can see it on your screen really clearly. And you'll also notice if you roll over the left-hand side, it's got tables of contents. So if you're stuck in any particular area, you can click on folder organization. It jumps to that. Or you can build the first page. You can go to your color scheme. You can go using Adobe Web Fonts. You can choose the new page from templates. And finally, this XML data sets. This is an optional extra piece that Anna asked about earlier on. Now, I'm not going to cover it today. It's because that, to give this due justice, it's going to take a half hour, and it's an extra portion of the project. It's optional. I'm just going to pause this. It's optional, but you'll see that you can watch my movie and look how XML data sets are constructed as part of that movie. Okay, so once you watch that, and next week, because as I said, since that XML dataset piece is optional, and that's where the extra credit comes in. I don't recall if I put the specific number of points, but let me pull up my file here. Go back and go to the instructions. No, I didn't say it, but I'm going to make the XML datasets. If you create a working XML dataset, it's going to be worth 3 extra points. That's a 20% premium on your project. So if you order in the next 2 hours, you'll get this 20% premium, with the XML data set and a free ShamWow. Okay, so I would suggest that you watch the tutorial. I mean, you have to watch the tutorial. It's just so much fun to make. 3 easy payments, that's true. So you watch this tutorial. You want to make sure when you watch this tutorial, you do it in full screen, okay? Because it's going to fill your screen with all the grandeur of Dreamweaver. And it's going to show you the folder, and you're really going to see everything super clearly. So I think this tutorial is going to help you walk through this whole final project smoothly and easily. Okay? Here's the example final project. And you'll see I've also embedded my movie there. This one is a YouTube embed. And it kind of shows you, I screwed up my style sheet in this class today. So you can see this, it's moved my sidebar too close to the side there. And I'm still working on my XML data set because it's not showing up just quite the way I want it to show up yet. But this is the example website. And once you examine this, you'll see how it works, but you really don't even need to see my example website to get your project underway. Your project is really using the instructions, the grading rubric, and watching the final project tutorial. Get started with this stuff. I'm sure you guys are going to knock it out of the park. You'll want to watch that tutorial multiple times. It's 26 minutes long, but it's easy to start and stop. And I think once you get started with it, you'll find between the instructions, the grading rubric, and the tutorial, you'll have no problem. Okay? So, questions? Okay, good. I'm glad, Victoria, that it put some wind in your sails. I've been having my own wind issues. Okay, certain things that I didn't cover. I didn't cover the site reports, the browser compatibility check, and the CSS advisor. So I'm going to do that quickly because these are actually things that we've looked at before, and we can look at them in the context of this final project. So I'm going to go out to Dreamweaver. I'm going to go to Design View. I'm going to go to a page built from my template. Let's look at Index. And I'm going to choose Window, Results. And that's where we have our browser compatibility. And then I can click on Check Browser Compatibility. And notice what it's saying. This is not a compatibility. This is a compatibility issue. It's not a validation error. It's saying if a container, including the browser window itself, is not wide enough to accommodate both a float with a specified width and a content with a specified width, that follows that the content after the float will drop below. Okay, and this is affecting Internet Explorer 7.0. So basically what it's saying is I've got some floating elements in here that I have to reconcile with the entire width of my container and the other elements, because I've got sidebar, I've got content, and I've got container. I've got to make sure all those numbers match up. So browser compatibility is nice. You can control the settings. You can say, you know what, I've set it up to the teacher's assignment, which is Internet Explorer 7 and above. Firefox is set up to 1.5. Let's change this to 4, seeing that Firefox is now at 15. Chrome is actually at the numbers that Chrome uses and Firefox uses do not reconcile with the target browsers that are set up inside of Dreamweaver. just to prove the point, because that really annoys me. I want Adobe to step up to the plate. They're pissing me off, those Adobe people. If I go to Chrome and I choose About Google Chrome, we see this is version 23.0. So I don't know where on earth those Adobe people are coming up with that crazy number that they've got there. Whew. Now I feel better. Okay, so we go to Dreamweaver. You set up your browser versions the way you want. I might not care about Netscape, that's for sure. And you know, if I was really a cool guy, I would care about Opera, but I don't. So I'm going to set it up for those 4 browsers. I would now go to Validation. I would click on Validate Current Documents. And it looks like I've got a problem. Element object is missing one or more of the following attributes, data and type. So it's saying my object width and height needs a type and a data. So that's because I'm using a movie, right? And you're not going to run into this problem. So I would say movie, and then I would say type equal, and this is a screen element, and that's my data and type for that element. And I click on refresh, validate the current document, and these are still things relative to only what I'm doing, which is including a YouTube embedded movie. You're not going to see those specific problems. But if you do see any validation errors, you're going to be able to click on it, and it's going to take you to that line, right? And then you'd be able to repair the elements within that line. Okay, so that's how you use both the validation tool and the browser compatibility tool. Now, the CSS Advisor tool. So notice if I have this float drop problem and I click down here where it says View Solutions, that takes me to the CSS Advisor page right here on the web. Floated elements drop below their expected position. It summarizes the problem. It gives me the solution. It gives me a detailed description of how to do it. Okay? So in essence, we've covered the final project. I went over with you the most important part of that entire thing, which is getting the instructions, the grading rubric, examining the web design best practices, and most importantly, watching the final project tutorial. Okay? So you guys get started. I'm sure you're going to do a great job with it. And next week, when there are issues that come up for you, because we do have 2 weeks for this, this is the entirety of our focus. We'll deal with those issues as you present them to me. So if you send me an email between now and next week, I will make sure to address the issues within the class next week. I will try to get to your emails in a timely fashion. Just keep in mind, at the end of the semester, just like you've got lots to do, so do I. So I'll do my best to keep up with you. Okay? So that's a wrap for today. Thank you very much for attending. I'm going to end the recording, and if there's anybody who has some questions after class, I'll be happy to stick around for a few minutes and answer them. Thank you all. See you next week. Bye-bye.